The Cambridge Tech Podcast is supported by Rathbones, a leading provider of individual wealth management services to private clients, entrepreneurs, charities and professional partners. For more information, please visit rathbones.com. The value of your investments and the income from them may go down as well as up, and you could get back less than you invested.
Welcome to the Cambridge Tech Podcast, talking all things technology from the heart of the UK's tech capital. Here are your hosts, Faye Holland and James Parton.
Hi, I'm James.
And I'm Faye. So James, how's your week been?
It's been great. Yeah, busy. I think the highlight was going to see Aileen at the Melbourne Science Park. So
she'll be thrilled with that.
Yeah, I had a nice walk around. Lovely little cafe there. And the sun was shining, which made it really nice.
Good.
How about you?
I have had a very quiet week. I've actually got lots of work done because I haven't been here, there and everywhere, gallivanting around like normal. So actually it's been a really nice week. We've had the BBC filming over at Cambridge Science Centre, which is great for them as well, keep raising their profile. And very much the same this coming week as well. I'm hiding, apart from one day, which I'll tell you about next week. But yeah, I'm hiding, getting work done, which my clients will be very happy about.
Sounds very productive.
Indeed. So should we quickly do some news updates?
Yep.
So first up, we have more positive news for Cambridge this week. According to new research from businessfinance.co.uk, Cambridge is now the best place in the UK for AI startups. The rankings are based on a detailed evaluation of AI-related job vacancies, the number of AI-related businesses, online search volume for AI-related terms, and the 5-year business survival rate. So we're number 1 in Cambridge, Bristol comes in second, Reading third, and across the east of England, actually, it's pretty positive. Milton Keynes are 12th, Chelmsford 13th. So yeah, quite a few of them also making the top 20.
Yeah, there's been a few positive reports lately, hasn't there? So yeah, another one there. Great news. So Cambridge Cognition have raised £2.6 million in funding, and that's going to be used for commercial investment and growth capital. And Cambridge Cognition specialises in CNS clinical trial solutions, which is a growing area of investment for the pharma industry.
And also in funding news, Wave Photonics, a Cambridge-based deep tech startup and Impulse alumni, has received £4.5 million in funding to further continue its development of on-chip photonic design. The round was led by the UK Innovation and Science Seed Fund and Cambridge Enterprise Ventures, with participation from the Redstone and QAI Ventures Quantum Fund, Kira Ventures and Deep Tech Labs. The investment will enable Wave Photonics to take its technology from a research manufacturing line to a commercial foundry.
Next, we have a potentially significant advancement in drug discovery that has been achieved through a tech-bio collaboration between Cambridge Crystallographic Data Centre, CCDC, and technology leaders Amazon Web Services and Intel. Jürgen Harter, who is CCDC's CEO and who is coming onto the podcast soon, has said, "We are delighted to partner with AWS and Intel on this project to provide another valuable structural science resource to enhance drug discovery processes in the pharmaceutical industry. The output from the project is now being free to all, further emphasising that our commitment to fair data and our consideration of the environmental impact of repeated computation."
That's great news. And again, we'll hear more from Jürgen in a few weeks' time. Finally, a quick event shout out. Next Wednesday, June the 26th, we have the Cambridge DevOps and Test Meetup at the Bradfield Centre. You can find registration either on meetup.com or bradfieldcentre.com.
Great. Thanks, Faye. Well, let's move on to today's interview with Ruizhi Wang from Abselion. So, Ruizhi, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today. We always like to start by getting to know you a little bit better. So why don't you tell us about your background and how you came to be in Cambridge?
Well, thanks for having me at the show today. Well, bit long and complicated story. So I'm born in China. I moved to Germany with my parents when I was 6 years old. I'm a German citizen. I did my undergrad studies in Switzerland, then moved to the US, stayed for a year in Silicon Valley in Berkeley, and then came to Cambridge to do my PhD. That's how I ended up here.
So Cambridge was always going to be the destination, or was it more of an organic arrival?
I always thought I'd become an academic, and I was a very odd kid because my heroes were physicists. And obviously, Cambridge has an amazing track record in physics, having contributed to the discovery of so many important things in physics. So for me, Cambridge was always a special place. And after I finished my undergrad, I only applied to one place for my PhD. It was either that or just starting a job in industry. And fortunately, I got that place here in Cambridge.
Great.
And what did you read, Ruizhi? What was your thesis on?
My master thesis was on laser processing of nanomaterials. It was basically a 1-year full-time project. Spent mainly working at nights because the laser lab was very busy, and the postdocs, they had first dibs on the slots. So I had a good result. And recently I found out someone cited my master thesis.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Brilliant.
So the concept for Abselion then grew from your experience in your research group. Is that correct? You were manufacturing materials for other researchers and academics, and you started to get an idea of what the most popular materials were.
I think that's a good way to put it. So maybe a little bit of background. So during my PhD, I spent a lot of time making devices and materials, semiconductor devices that are quite useful in a range of applications. And the way that my research group operated was that we had a lot of collaborations with other academic groups that made use then of these devices that we made. So I spent a lot of time during my PhD actually perfecting making these devices, and then those went off to collaborators who used it for their own research. And then when my PhD came to an end, I told all my collaborators, look, it's time you find someone else to make these materials for you and these devices for you, because I'm off to do something else now. And at that point, those people, those collaborators, they offered basically to pay for these samples because they really needed it for their research. And that's how the company really started. It was a way for me to rent lab space, rent equipment in the university facilities as a company, and to make these samples for the previous academic collaborators, but now as customers.
Yeah. So you started a business around that, but that's not ultimately where you've ended up. That's right?
Yeah, that's right. I started off just selling these materials and devices to these academic collaborators, and did that actually for a while. But it was never going to be a scalable business. And originally when I started, the goal was really, to be completely honest, I didn't have anything else to do anyways. I've just finished my PhD. I thought, okay, while I'm looking for a job, I might as well do that. Then it became just a full-time job making these samples. I actually had some decent revenue at the beginning just from selling these materials, but it wasn't going to be a scalable business. So then I started looking around, okay, I'm basically just acting as a supplier at that point. But the things that I'm making, that I'm supplying to others, what can you do with them as an end application, right? And protein detection, protein sensing is a great application that both fits what the technology offers and also what customers need. And I think after just selling materials and devices for a couple of months, I think maybe a year and a half, I started to move more towards, okay, let's build something for an end application.
So that application is quick turnaround testing during pre-production and manufacturing of antibodies, which is basically delivering it a lot quicker than traditionally you'd find it in a lab. So tell us a little bit more about how you got to that and what that overall proposition is.
Okay, how did we get there? Well, we got there by speaking to a lot of potential customers, no customers at that point, a lot of potential customers, and trying out a lot of different value propositions. Obviously, we started off as a company with a technology. So we had a hammer looking for a nail. I guess it's quite common in Cambridge there's probably a lot of companies with that. So we just drafted a bunch of potential value propositions and then went to people that might be interested and tested all of them. And really a wide range of applications. And I think it was really within pharma industry that we discovered, okay, the way that our technology works and all these advantages, they fit very well to this use case in biomanufacturing, where they kind of need this very simple device. It has to be very robust. You have to have a quick turnaround time and as little maintenance as possible, which is exactly what we can deliver with our instrument.
So you were kind of bootstrapping this at this point from the revenue that you brought in from that initial first business of manufacturing?
Half bootstrapped, half grants. So we had revenue from just material and device sales. Then, did some joint research projects, had a couple of Innovate UK grants, won a couple of awards. I must have signed up to every single award that paid money at that point. Won a couple of those. So that was 400,000 or 500,000 that allowed us to get to the point where we had figured out a very attractive application, and then allowed us also to build a proof of concept device.
Yeah, when you talk about finding the application that really kind of resonated, it's quite impactful, right? Your test takes something that would typically have taken a week to go to labs and come back with results to now minutes. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. What we mainly do now is we're helping streamline analytical processes in biomanufacturing. So biomanufacturing, by that, I'm primarily talking about the manufacturing of therapeutic antibodies or therapeutic viral vectors. So these are the active ingredients within a lot of the modern drugs. And these things are produced by cells. So there are the manufacturers, they literally have big vats of cells in a broth with nutrients swimming around. And these cells, they secrete either your therapeutic antibodies or your therapeutic viral vectors. And of course, during that manufacturing process, you need to know how much you have produced and whether what you've produced is really what you're looking for. And that's actually quite crucial because you're using living organisms to manufacture, and they are very sensitive. I mean, as you can imagine, not every cow makes exactly the identical milk. And with cell cultures also, depending on the situation, what they produce might be different. So people are reliant on very precise, very high quality analytics. And most of that happens at the moment by taking a sample during the production process and then handing it over to a centralized lab. And this just causes a lot of friction, and then the analytical methods within that lab are also very slow and very often require a very highly trained person to do. So what we allow customers to do is basically to take our little box, smaller than a microwave, put it next to their bioreactor where they're running the production, take a sample, stick it in, get a result in 5 minutes. And that obviously drastically simplifies the workflow and just makes the whole process much, much more efficient.
So, Ruizhi, you just said we take our little box. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's obviously much more than that. Tell us why it's different. What's the real differentiator with what you're offering?
The main customer benefit is the ability to do the necessary analytics at line. So I think one of our customers literally told us that a process that they're running, it used to take them 2 weeks. Now they can do it in 2 days. And the reason we can do that is that with our detection technology, we are able to get rid of a lot of that complexity that you have in traditional methods. So one thing you should know is that the most traditional methods to look at therapeutic antibodies or therapeutic viral vectors are based on optical technologies. So ultimately what you have is you have some form of laser or lamp or light source, couple of lenses, a very sensitive photodetector, and those basically analyze the sample for you, right? So what they're looking for is, for example, if a protein is present, it changes absorption, it changes diffraction, it changes an optical phenomenon. And these instruments are fantastic. They're just very, very complex. And as you can imagine, having a bunch of lenses around, having a bunch of lasers around, photodetectors makes it very big. And because they're so big and complex, then suddenly you have a lot of other issues. Where do you put them? What if there's vibration? And you need someone who's highly trained to run that. So we got rid of all of these problems by getting the optics out completely. So we're not doing any optical measurements. There's no lenses, no lasers, no photodetectors in there. What we have is a solid-state semiconductor device, a very small sensor that is sensitive to biomolecules, such as therapeutic antibodies. And all of that signal is processed using an integrated circuit. So suddenly, you got rid of all these complex things, but you have a very compact and, more importantly, a very robust device that lends itself to use in a production environment where maybe you have a process operator who's not a postdoc level scientist who can then just very quickly get the answer that they're looking for.
So it sounds a lot more simple than what you'd expect to be going on in a lab. Is anyone else doing anything similar, or is this really unique?
I think so far it's unique. I believe our main competitors are central lab-based techniques. This is how most things are still done today. And our main market barrier, I would say, is still at the moment inertia, because people have these established processes in place, and it's our job to educate, to show to people, to show the benefits, and then to win them over.
So on that point, what's your kind of go-to-market strategy? How are you selling into these drug discovery companies? What's your tactics there?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the thing that you should know is that obviously manufacturing of therapeutics is a very highly regulated environment, and there's a lot of rules. And once you have a manufacturing process ongoing, it's actually part of the FDA approval. So it's very unlikely that people are going to change that, which means that it's also very hard for us, as a young startup company who doesn't have the necessary name in the industry yet, to get an instrument into that area. Now, fortunately for us, it's not just large-scale manufacturing that requires this type of analytical instrument. But when you look at, let's say, a academic lab, they would also be producing antibodies and producing viral vectors. In their case, maybe very small amounts to inform their research, to support their research. Let's say they're testing something on some mice. They need to make that material somehow, right? And in that manufacturing process, they have the same challenges. They still need to figure out, okay, are my cell cultures expressing? Are they expressing the right quantity? What is the ideal temperature for them to make it? So our goal is to focus at the early stages of that workflow first. So looking at academics, small, medium-sized biotechs at the beginning of this process, when they're producing stuff on a small scale for preclinical research, or when they are actually doing research on how to make a production process more efficient. And an advantage of doing like that is obviously it's easier to get the instrument in there because it's an unregulated environment. If they like it, it delivers what they want. They can start using it straight away without taking up any excessive risk. And the second part of it is that if we're involved in the development of a new production process, we will be able to follow that production process. What I mean by that is, let's say someone is developing a new antibody and we're involved in that process. Now, when they start scaling it up, our method will be the first one that they will consider because, they've seen it in the previous R&D. It has been validated. It worked very well. And this will then ultimately allow us to move into the fully fledged manufacturing. But I think this is a process that will take a couple of years, and initially we'll focus on these early stage application areas.
If you are a startup looking to grow in Cambridge, the Bradfield Centre offers a range of flexible membership packages which put you in control of your office and home working mix. There's a vibrant, collaborative atmosphere, on-site cafe, plenty of green outside space, and regular member social events. We also offer a range of high-quality meeting spaces for hire, and for tech event organisers, our auditorium, lakeside pavilion, and atrium spaces are perfect to bring your communities together for in-person and hybrid events. For more information, visit bradfieldcentre.com or call 01223 919 600.
So where are you in terms of launching the product? Is it now fully commercial? Are you kind of at the pilot stage? Or how many of these kind of academic or smaller size biotechs are using the technology?
So what we've done in the development process, something that was always very important for us, is to be able to give a customer something as early as possible, just to get feedback. Because I think the best way to get feedback is not just ask someone to imagine something or give them a spec sheet, but just really to put something in front of them and let them use it. That's when I think you get the most reliable feedback. So we've done a couple of rounds where, we built an instrument to a certain spec and we gave it to customers and they used it. And right now we're in the last phase. So actually we are going to do the formal launch of the instrument in June. Okay. And at the moment, we have 3 instruments installed with customers, with pilots. Some of them actually paying for the demo instrument already. And, so far the performance has been great. And it's also a great way for us to test it in the real world environment ahead of the official product launch and give us data. Give us data because in our field, marketing material is data. It's proof that it works.
It was really exciting times for you actually getting to the formal launch. I want to pick up on something you said earlier on, which is more about your experiences and your journey. So you said that you'd raised around 400k in grants and that you were going for any award where you could get some incremental funding from. I believe you also went to Cambridge Enterprise as a postdoc. But you didn't do very much within Cambridge Enterprise on the entrepreneurial journey whilst you were doing your PhD. So just talk to us a little bit about those different stages that you went through.
I wasn't that much involved in these startup ecosystem in Cambridge before starting Abselion, mainly because while doing my PhD, I think my goal had been to become an academic, I guess, ultimately. And if not, I would have probably gone back to do management consulting, which is what I worked as an intern in that industry, and I liked it. So that's why during my PhD, I didn't attend a lot of events, didn't go to a lot of these activities because it wasn't really something that was on the radar. It's really just, as I said before, coming to the end of my PhD, and suddenly, there were people there asking to buy this stuff that I thought, okay, you know what? If people are going to pay for it, then I need to start a company somehow. So that's how it evolved. Unfortunately, I don't have a very inspiring story that when I was 5 years old, my dream was to make analytics in biomanufacturing.
Yeah, not many people do.
More efficient. Yeah, that's true. And unfortunately, that was also not the case for me.
Well, it's pretty inspiring to have customers before you have a company.
Yeah,
That's quite impressive.
Thank you.
So, Faye, this isn't the first time, though, is it, that you guys have met? Because also you were 21 to Watch finalist in 2021, is that right?
21 or 22.
Yeah, time flies.
But what's interesting is actually when you were on the top 21 list, you were a different company name.
Yes.
So we find it quite often, both on the podcast and with my day job, that lots of early stage companies start being called one thing and then they morph into something else. So how did that happen with you?
So when I incorporated the company, we were making these semiconductor devices. And that's why we named it Hexagon Fab. Also, we had a very small marketing budget, so we couldn't afford asking anyone actually for advice. The name has to do with the material that we were making, and fab actually is short for fabrication. Now, moving into the pharma industry, fab means something completely different because fab is an active fragment, a part of an antibody. And so people would assume that Hexagon Fab means we are a company that manufactures fab fragments with a hexagon shape or something in that region, which was very confusing, obviously, for a lot of people. Then we realized at some point that the original name that we had chosen for our product, which was Bolt at that point, again, decided in one afternoon without checking with anyone who's knowledgeable. Also, we had to change that name because we got a very angry letter from a big international corporate. I'll not say any names here just to avoid any further conflict. But we got a very angry letter saying that they have a trademark on that name, actually for something completely different, not even a device or anything, but they had that name. So at that point, it was either, okay, are we going to spend absolutely every penny that we have to fight a legal battle, or are we just going to change it? So then we just decided, you know what, let's just, the company name is confusing for customers, the product name is giving us a lot of trouble, so let's just change all of it. And that's how we came up with Abselion and with an instrument name, Amperia, and we did all the necessary trademark search first and, had a trademark. So now we have a nice trademark on the name.
Yeah, it's just another perfect example of doing those things up front, but a lot of people don't because they, like you say, you don't know, you didn't have the resources to go and take advice on it. But, you've now got a good, strong brand and name. So that's great to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah, and kind of, bringing things up to date. You've now got a team of 15 people, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
And so what's it like being the CEO of a company with 15 people?
It's really nice. It's really nice because I work with great people. I think that's one of the perks being the CEO is that you can pick the people you work with. And that gave me the ability to avoid annoying people. So now I have the absolute pleasure to be working with great, very smart people, very driven people who really also want to make the company a success.
I mean, when we had a chat before the recording, and one thing I really enjoyed that you shared was, we were talking about the fact that you hadn't gone through the typical entrepreneurship support within the university, so you were almost learning, day by day as you encountered new scenarios. But you made the point that even if you had received a load of good advice, you would have probably ultimately ignored it anyway. So I think that will probably resonate with a lot of young founders that are listening. So maybe you could delve into that a little bit more and just expand on that thought.
Yes, of course. I think this is a phenomenon that I've observed because of my own experience, but I also see right now with people that come to me asking for advice, although they should really be looking to finding someone else better to give advice. At the beginning, when just starting out the company, I had great advisors. I still have those great advisors. But I clearly remember a couple of things that at the very beginning they told me, Ruizhi, this is what you should definitely not do because it will come back at you and will be extremely painful. And I told them, yeah, you're right. And then I went out and did it anyways because I didn't truly understand what they meant. And then it was only then like a year or 2 years afterwards that it really dawned on me and I really, really understood, okay, that's what it was about. And, it's funny because just a couple of weeks ago, someone approached me at an event, someone who's just starting out in a similar area, asking me for advice. And I shared actually some of that advice with her, and I'm 100% sure she is also going to do the same thing. And maybe 2 years' time, she will sit here and she will tell you the same story.
That is funny. But because you are now also giving back as well, aren't you? You're also mentoring young founders now yourself. So I guess your challenge is how do you deliver that advice in a way they're not going to ignore it?
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's a lost battle. I think everyone, I think it's just bound to happen.
Love it. So lots of things coming up. As we've said, you've got the launch in June. You're also looking to fundraise.
As a startup, you're always fundraising. It feels like my full-time job now. Well, not full-time job. Half of the time selling my product, the other half of the time selling the company.
You've obviously got these initial pilot customers you described earlier. So is this the scaling round? Is this seed or would this be Series A for you? Or
it would be Series A.
Series A, right. Yeah, so this would be the first significant intake of capital.
Yes, exactly.
And what would your plan be over the next kind of 12 to 18 months if that fundraising is successful?
Oh, it's very simple. Sell it. Very simple. I think at the beginning, when you're just starting out the company, there's a lot of different milestones, building up the team, validating the technology, nailing down the application, and so on and so forth. And I think we've done very well to do all of these things on a relatively small budget, especially as a deep tech company. This is something that we're really, really proud of. And after having raised the seed round, we already have a product that has been validated by customers who have done full benchmark against the gold standard. And our instrument came out on top. So this is really something that we're very proud of. But I think now the next step is just to sell it. So it's very simple. Milestone, simple target. So launch the instrument this year, sell a couple this year, sell a couple more next year, and hopefully reach profitability in a couple of years.
And grow the team locally in Cambridge? Or you thinking kind of geographical expansion? Are you not too worried where future employees might be based? How do you see the company growth trajectory?
We'll grow in Cambridge. Also, I think something that's quite unique about us is that we do all the manufacturing ourselves. So our little instrument, our box, we assemble it ourselves. And there's a consumable associated to the instrument. And we have to make couple 100,000 of them. And this is also something that we do ourselves. And we would look to continue doing that in Cambridge. It's a great place.
It's brilliant. Really exciting times for you. And it's great to get an update of what's been going on over the last couple of years. And it looks like you've got a fair few targets for the next coming years as well. So good luck.
Thank you very much.
Today's show was produced by Carl Homer of Cambridge TV and supported by our media partner, Business Weekly. The Cambridge Tech Podcast is available on all major podcast platforms and on cambridgetechpodcast.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please give it a 5-star review. It will really help others discover the show.
The rules of business and society have changed, and Mishcon de Reya stands at the forefront of this change, championing the innovation ecosystem at the heart of Cambridge. Our expertise is advising innovative companies at all stages of their life cycle. Discover what you can do at mishcon.com.